What's happening, people? Right, so just over a year ago, myself and Victoria decided we're actually going to do our own podcast. And in that time, we heard some incredible stories. Stories that we thought there's no way this story was cured through diet alone. Impossible. We were wrong on so many occasions. In that time, we had some unbelievable guests on. Unbelievable guests. And today's guest is no different. I want you guys to stick around and listen to this guy's story. This guy's story is incredible. Absolutely incredible, and it's absolutely inspiring also. Now, before I go on, I want to make this perfectly clear. None of us have ever claimed to be experts. None of us have ever claimed that we're doctors. But what I've always said is this: you will never argue with real life experiences. Never. How can you argue against these things? And I've also said this, that I'm not saying that diet is going to fix everything. I'm not saying that the type of food that we eat now, we're all on the carnivore diet, is going to fix everything. But what I can tell you is this: it's a damn good start. Alright? Now, I've also mentioned on many occasions that the healthcare system in this country is an absolute disgrace. Okay, these people are being put in care homes, and in my opinion, they're being left to rot. Okay, the question is simply this: are these people getting the help that they really need, or are they being put in these homes, being left to die? Because I seen this for myself 2 years ago. Two loved ones, I seen this before my very eyes. These people suffered in front of me. And I've said this on many occasions, on many podcasts. My biggest regret with what I know now is I didn't fight harder for these people. I should have stood over these people that were telling me, the nurses and doctors, and telling me that they're in the best place. The best place, we just need to medicate them, we'll look after them, we'll feed them. No, what I should have done was I should have fought harder for these people. I feel to this day that I let these people down. There was times when I was in there, people were screaming, I want to go home. I want to see my family. And these nurses would turn around and say to them, you can't go home. You're not well. You're sick. It was absolutely heartbreaking. Honestly, I was going to swear there, but I won't. It was absolutely, honestly, it was really sickening to watch. How have we gotten to this stage, guys? It's unbelievable. These people are being left in these homes and they're not getting the help that they need. And this is the reason why we were so keen on getting this guy on. This guy's story will absolutely shock every single one of you. And guys, listen to me. If you listen to the podcast and you really enjoyed it and you learned something from it, do me a favor, share it. Share it to so many people. The more people that listen to this, the better. That's what we're doing this for. Myself and Victoria are not doing this for any financial gain. We're doing this just to spread awareness. We're not saying we're right. We're just saying listen to it so you can actually make up your own mind. Because I'm never ever going to accept, ever, that there's nothing we can do. I'm never going to accept that the only way to help these people is give them more medication and feed them the way we're feeding them right now. In my opinion, it's absolute criminal. They're not getting the help that they need, and it's really frustrating, and it really angers me. Okay, at the end of the day, guys, your body can heal itself. Now, you can turn around and say to me, this is all rubbish, but you will never know until you actually try it yourself. Because you see, the thing is this: these problems that these people are currently facing, it didn't just happen for no particular reason. Surely there must be a root cause. There must be. Because at the end of the day, when you give people medication, you're only easing the pain. You're not looking after the root cause. And that's where we're going wrong. Because as I mentioned at the very beginning, I've had people on my podcast that are sharing their stories, and they're saying, like, listen, I didn't want to go down this medication route. I took matters into my own hands and I was able to control my own health. Why can't we not do the same for these people? Like, why? And this is what's going to be inspiring. when you hear this man's story, because this is what he's actually doing for people. He's actually helping them through diet alone. He's not pushing medication onto these people. It's remarkable, absolutely remarkable what this guy is doing for his patients. So with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Hal Cranmer podcast. Enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of Carnivore Evolution. Today our guest is Hal Cranmer, who we'll be speaking to shortly. We have Nancy Brown with us, our nutritional therapist, and Mark Ennis, our health coach. And I'm Victoria Olson. Hello and welcome, Hal. Welcome to the show. We're very pleased to have you on.
Thank you, Victoria.
Hal is the owner of A Paradise for Parents, which is a group of assisted living homes in Arizona, and he feeds his residents a carnivore diet. So, Hal, if you would, please tell us a little background about how you came to that point of doing that with your clientele.
Okay, I just want to emphasize we don't feed everyone a carnivore diet.
Oh, interesting.
We have some residents who we do a ketogenic diet, and we have some that don't want to participate at all, want kind of the standard American diet. We still start with sort of a carnivore base, and then we add foods as the family's request, or we have to follow Arizona Department of Health Services rules, and if a doctor prescribes a certain diet, my hands are kind of tied. The trick is to find doctors who are into what I'm into, and then it's a lot easier because they prescribe the carnivore diet or the ketogenic diet or something. So so as a background, I don't have a healthcare background. I started life as a military Air Force pilot, and then I flew for the airlines for a while, and then I lost my job after the terrorist attacks of September 11th. Looked all over the country to find something to sustain my family, and ended up in manufacturing for 20 years. And then while I was in manufacturing, I got a little into the house flipping rental property kind of industry, and did that for a while. And then an investor told me about assisted living homes, another real estate investor. And so I kind of got into this as a real estate investment, just thinking, this is sort of a passive, though there's no passive investment, but, I could just have a staff and I just sort of go over there occasionally and collect the money, and found out that's not true. It's a business that you got to run. We were living in Minnesota before that, and we moved down to Arizona because my kids all wanted to go to Arizona State for school, so we wanted to be close to them, and this seemed like a good opportunity to we found some assisted living homes for sale, and so we kind of took the plunge and came down here, and not knowing anything about it, but figure we'll figure it out. When I first got into it, I spent probably a year or so sort of just learning the business and running it the same way the previous owner had. And it really bothered me that it was very much a game of comply with all the regulations, do what the doctor tells you, and try to save as much money as you can. That recipe seemed like it wasn't a great one for our residents. I'm not saying I don't follow the regulations. I do. Otherwise, I'd be out of business. They'd shut me down. But there's a lot of flexibility in a lot of the regulations. If a doctor prescribes medication, we have to follow that, to the letter. We buy the medication in the right amount, give them the right dose at the right time of day, no questions asked kind of thing. And the Department of Health inspects us and makes sure we do that. But for the food, there's not much. There's make sure you have a menu posted for the next week of the meals you're going to serve the residents, so they know and the families know. And when I told Department of Health inspectors that I had people on a ketogenic or carnivore diet, I found out I got written up because I did not have a keto or carnivore manual on site. Um, Even though I had keto and carnivore cookbooks, and I had a keto and
Mhm.
carnivore health coach that was teaching my residents, apparently you got to have a book showing you
Mhm.
how to do it too. So I went to Amazon and bought a book and put them on the sites. But that was about it for regulations. So I had a lot of flexibility in doing that. For activities, we're big into exercise as well. I think diet is an enormous part of good health, but you got to move a little too. You can't just sit in a chair all day, which is what a lot of assisted living places do with their residents. And so the only thing they had really in the regulations for movement was you got to post an activities calendar. But, that activity could be reading the newspaper or having a conversation, that kind of thing. So, so I felt like it gave me a lot of flexibility. And I noticed when you just follow the regulations and you just follow the prescriptions and you go to the grocery store with the idea of buying the cheapest food possible to save yourself money, your residents aren't around very long. You have a lot of turnover in your residents because they pass away and don't do
Mhm.
so well. They don't come to me because they're really healthy in the first place. They've got a lot of chronic conditions. So I just started researching, what can we do? I had a gentleman come to me, and a lot of them do. They tell me, I don't want to be here. I want to live at home. No one wants to live in a nursing home. Everyone wants to live at home. I get it. But this guy was really passionate about it. He's like, I really want to live at home. And I'm like, well, what will you do to do that? And he goes, I don't know, but anything. Tell me how I can go home. He was in a wheelchair. He was pretty diabetic. He had a lot of aches and pains. Fortunately, his mind was still pretty good. So I just started feeding him what my mom told me, don't eat so much sugar, eat your vegetables, that kind of thing. Lean meat. I didn't know about
Mhm.
fatty meat at the time. And I hired him a personal trainer that kind of exercised other people in the house too. And he worked his butt off. Even when the trainer wasn't there, he was exercising. He gave up all his sugar and we reversed. I saw his type 2 diabetes pretty much go down to almost normal. He became sort of pre-diabetic. And I made a bet with him that if he got out of his wheelchair and could walk out the front door and out to the street and get in his wife's car, he could go home. And his wife agreed. And in about 7 months, he did. And so I
Wow.
thought, wow,
Amazing. Amazing.
maybe there's something to this. So I just started researching more. Well, the trainer I hired at the time was a vegan, and his wife was a vegan. And they're like, oh, you got to go vegan. Meat's carcinogenic. It's going to make your residents have cancer, all this stuff. So I'm like, oh, I don't want that. So I hired some vegan nutritionists, and it was kind of a disaster. They had me running all over town for weird ingredients that you couldn't buy at regular grocery stores, and I didn't know. I was trying to run this business. I couldn't do that too. I was hoping we could just order delivery from the grocery store, and all my residents were really complaining about it. No one wanted to have a salad for breakfast,
Mm.
and the some of the residents said they were going to move out, and I didn't see any benefit. I saw 98-pound ladies, losing weight, which I was like, that's not good. And so I didn't see diabetes resolving or anything like that. Um, I didn't see people's aches and pains going away and everything. So I said, well, this isn't working. So I kind of fired the vegan nutritionist and went back to just, lean meat, maybe a few vegetables, things like that, some salad. And I kept researching it. And I came across a guy named, well, first I came across a doctor named Dr. Dale Bredesen, who he's a neurologist that kind of dedicated his life to figuring out Alzheimer's. and he ran the UCLA Center on Aging. He's a very distinguished guy, very smart guy. Went to Caltech. I think he went to Duke for his medical school, and he was very much into a functional medicine approach to Alzheimer's and dementia, and he'd had a lot of success reversing it. The trouble was he was kind of into a plant-based diet, which I already knew wasn't real good. He wasn't like against meat. He just said be very sparing of it. You eat more fish, that kind of thing. He was not into red meat. So at about the same time, I had heard a podcast of the guest was a guy named John Jaquish, who is a PhD in biomechanical engineering, and he invented a machine that helped people with osteoporosis. And what he found in his studies was that gymnasts, people who were gymnasts their whole lives, never got osteoporosis. And he found it was because of the pounding on his joints and bones. You'd think it's the opposite, but actually that pounding, when they landed, when they did vaults, things like that, actually strengthened their bones. So he created a machine that sort of simulated that pounding, and it helped people with osteoporosis. Well, then he turned his attention to muscle building and what really builds muscle. And he came out with a device. It's called an X3, and it's
Oh, yeah.
a set of bands and a bar and a plate. It's very easy to use. You can throw it in your car and go on vacation with it. I've been using it exclusively for like 3 years, and it's gained me about 15 pounds of muscle, and I have a really hard time gaining weight.
Wow.
But he had a book on how to do it and working out and everything. And it's an interesting book. It got my attention because it says weightlifting is a waste of time, and so is cardio. Um, and so I read the book, and in the book it said, to really get the best gains with your muscle, you have to go on a carnivore diet. And I was like, well, that's kind of crazy, cholesterol, heart attacks, vegetables have a lot of vitamins and minerals. What's going on here? So I thought, well, I like his exercise thing, so I'll try it for a month. And I was blown away. I've had lower back pain my whole life. I got it playing football and lifting weights in high school, and it never went away. I had some gut issues, things like that. In a month, they were gone. Everything was gone. Like I felt amazing. And I was gaining weight, muscle weight, by using his X3 and eating like that. So I'm like, wow, this is cool. So I started looking into the carnivore diet for other people, and I saw that, you know, what Dr. Bredesen was saying is he's all for a ketogenic diet, but he's a lot more into the vegetables than I am, or carnivore people are. So what he said was you got to have a ketogenic diet because you need to go into ketosis, because glucose. A lot of people with Alzheimer's and dementia have insulin resistance in their brain, and you can't um, you can't use glucose as a fuel for your brain as well as you used to be able to because it can't get in there. However, ketones can get in there. And so he recommended getting into ketosis, and then the ketones and the fat get up and fuel your brain, and it starts healing it. So I just thought, well, then carnivore is going to be great for that. And so I kind of started talking to my families about the carnivore diet. And at first they were like, my mom's not going to just eat meat. Um, and, I joked with them that, hey, well, she has dementia, so she won't remember that she had the same thing yesterday. But they didn't think it was funny. They're like, my mom's going to have vegetables and stuff. So we eased into the ketogenic diet thing to start with. And I got on a podcast. I got on Sean Baker's podcast. I answered one of his tweets and said, hey, we're trying this, and I'm trying to get him on a carnivore. He's like, come on my podcast. So I did. And a lady named Maria Emmerich reached out to me. And after that podcast, said, I love what you're doing. I'm going to send you these cookbooks, all my cookbooks, which she graciously did for free. I hired some cooks. We had some conversations with Maria. And then Maria said she was going to be in town in Phoenix, and she's being hosted by one of her certified health coaches. And so we'd had some success up to that point, putting people on a keto diet. And the one lady I put on a carnivore diet, she actually reversed her dementia. Like she
Wow.
went, I don't know if you know what a MOCA
Amazing.
test is, but it stands for the Montreal Cognitive Assessment. It's a one-page test where they have you draw a clock and you answer questions, and you know, give you a minute to say as many words as you can, starting with the letter B, things like that. She went from a 15 score, anything below 20 is dementia, to a 26 score.
Wow.
She was pretty young, and we did a whole lot of other therapies with her. We had her exercising a ton. We took her to hyperbaric oxygen therapy. We put her, she did red light therapy. She did saunas, all this other stuff too, daily walks, got her out in the sunshine a lot, that kind of thing. But I really think the carnivore diet really fixed her. But anyway, so I brought her to the Maria's cooking demo and expo. I brought my cooks and everyone. And the lady who was hosting it, Maria's health coach, came over to me and said, "I love what you're doing. I'd love to work with you." And I said, "Done. Yeah, I'd love it." So she's now our health coach, and she's big into the carnivore and keto diet. So we put a bunch of people on the carnivore diet. We've seen more improve. We've actually sent another guy home, fixed his dementia. His wife sent me a picture of him replacing a ceiling fan on their back porch the other day, standing on a ladder, and she's like, "It's amazing. I have my husband back."
Wonderful.
We've had two ladies lose over 200 pounds on the carnivore diet. In one in about 10 months and one in about a year and a half. We did fasting with them too. It wasn't just, eat as much meat as you can kind of thing. And we tried to maybe not give them as much fat. They got a little leaner cuts of meat and things like that, but they definitely did the carnivore diet. We did sort of one meal a day with them, or we do 48-hour fast, things like that. We've got a lot of people. I probably have 9 or 10 people who are no longer on diabetes medication. We brought A1Cs down to, 5.3 and below from 10, 12 kind of A1Cs. We've got people standing up out of wheelchairs and start walking again. I've got one lady who came to us about 9 years ago in a wheelchair out of a rehab. She was extremely diabetic, and now she's walking normally. In fact, I told her multiple times, you're well enough, you can move back home. And she's like, "Why? You cook for me great meals and you do my laundry. Why would I want to have to do all that myself?" I'm like, "Well, you're welcome to say if you want." So she goes out with her family and everything, comes back and hangs out at our house. So and she's a wonderful lady. She's now gardening in the backyard and things like that. So uh, I'm trying to get more and more people on the carnivore diet. It's kind of new to a lot of these people, especially for the elderly. But the ketogenic diet's working well also. But I'm a huge fan of the carnivore diet. So that's kind of my long-winded story.
Yeah, and
That's
it's absolutely, honestly, it's absolutely amazing how when I heard your story a couple of weeks off Victoria, I was like, I want to hear from this guy. I want to speak to this guy. Honestly, what it says underneath your name tells me everything I need to know. A paradise for parents assisted living. It's just when you hear that phrase, it's amazing, because when you think about it, these people are going into these care homes, and all we want to do is we want to help them. We want to give them the proper care, and just listening to what you have done for these people. Honestly, it makes me really emotional. It really does, because I have, it really does, because I've been in this situation. Like, Victoria knows my story. I lost two very loved ones like 2 years ago, and they were in assisted home, and I watched these people suffer in front of me. And I know what I know now. I had this conversation with the doctors, and I kept on getting the pushback, and I was like, why aren't these people not listening to me?
Well,
So
I've gone
I was
to
gonna ask,
other assisted living facilities.
that's what I was going to ask you. Like the pushback that you're getting at the moment, and from all these success stories that you're getting at the moment, why aren't these doctors not listening to you? Why are they not saying, okay, you have full control here? Okay, if we
Well,
want to put them on medication, it's your decision.
yeah, I can tell you why. There's a couple things working against them. And let me say, the doctors I work with, I love. They're very open to what I'm doing, but they're hindered by the system too. For instance, one of the things we do is check the hormone levels of a lot of our residents, and a lot of doctors don't want to prescribe hormone therapy, especially for women, postmenopausal women, because, oh, hormones cause breast cancer. Well, that's not true. And if you really delve into the studies, that's not true. But the doctors have malpractice insurance, and the malpractice insurance says if you give those ladies hormones, we will cancel your policy. And so they're very hamstrung by that. They're hamstrung by Medicare, their general rules and licensing and things like that. We can get around some of it if the family just refuses to take medication and stuff like that. But I think a lot of doctors just, I think a lot of doctors get into the medical paradigm of, that's the problem. This is what you give them. And there's not really a discussion of nutrition. I mean, go to a hospital, see what food they serve there. I put on Twitter one time, I took a video of a hospital cafeteria, like all the chips and sodas and candy row that you could grab. And then I took one of a gas station, and I was like, see if you can tell the difference. And they looked exactly the same.
Great
Right.
complaint.
So food is just not a part of medicine in the general system. And so when you say, I address the doctors rather than, hey, I'm going to put them on a ketogenic or carnivore diet. I don't think they need this medication anymore. They say, no, well, they do because, their A1C is this, or their fasting glucose, or their blood pressure is this, or their cholesterol's this. And so I now say to the doctors, what level do they need to get to that we can take them off the medication? If their A1C is 5.3, can we stop giving them insulin? If their blood pressure is below 120/80, can we cut out the blood, or at least start cutting back and see if it goes up again and then cut it back? One of the biggest problems I have is when we get them off their being diabetic or into the pre-diabetic stage or out of being pre-diabetes, their blood glucose drops like a rock because they're still, we haven't had the discussion of give them insulin, stop giving them insulin. So it actually drives it way down. And we've had the opposite problems. So we're very careful now to monitor blood glucose levels as we're doing this, especially for people who come in on diabetes. But my record was I had a gentleman who came to us with 54 medications.
Oh my gosh.
And you just wonder, like, to the doctor, doesn't that seem a little excessive? Like, really, he's that sick that he needs that. And to make it even worse, I have a software program that sort of runs my assisted living. It's kind of designed for that. And the guy who founded it, I called him up and said, hey, look across your database. What's the most medications that someone's taking? He found someone with 91 medications.
Oh, goodness.
91 a day? A day?
I can't tell you it's a day. It may be, some Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or once a week or something like that. But we have to have like a med list of, that the doctor signs off that this is their medications. And then we put them in the scheduling thing so we know when to take them and everything. And this guy had 91. Yeah. I'm like, how did the caregiver even keep track of that? Or,
broken system. Oh, that's awful.
We put those Metaset containers, that have the Saturday through Sunday and morning, noon, night, so you know when to give the pills. I'm like, how do you got to have like 4 or 5 of those for one person. It's just awful. It's insane. Yeah. And what happens is people get sick and then they go to the hospital, or they're elderly, so they are on medications already. Then something happens, they fall or something, go to the hospital. Then they get put on more medications at the hospital. Then they get sent to rehab for physical therapy and to get ready to either go back home or to assisted living. Then they get put on more medications at the rehab. Then they go to an assisted living or they go home or something, and then that doctor will put on more, because as you put on more and more, there are more and more side effects that you have to counter with more and more medication. So it's just it's a vicious circle.
This is what really frustrates me, Hal, because I just don't understand why we can't work with these people. Like you said, like you have really good doctors, you're able to speak to these people. I'm not able to do this in my country. Like every time I try and have this conversation with these doctors, I always get this pushback. What do you know? Like you haven't studied what I've studied. It took me 10 years to study this, and I'm like, well, listen, you're not helping these people. These people are actually getting worse, and it's
Yeah.
madness. Because I was going to ask you as well, Hal, what's the age limit? Are you seeing like, is it old people, or are you seeing like younger people coming in?
The youngest I've had is 38.
Wow,
Wow,
that's
So-
insane.
Yeah,
That's
one of the ladies
insane.
who lost 200 pounds was 42. And before she came to me, she was in a skilled nursing facility for 9 years and had hardly lost any weight. When I went to visit her to talk to her about my place, I met her in the cafeteria, and it was a ton of very obese people, and they were all eating, Hostess treats or, Pop-Tarts or things like that. And there's no, they're like, I'm like, everyone is insanely overweight here. They're not even like looking at the diet kind of thing.
not even thinking of it.
But I'm just thinking of, she was on Medicaid. So, the government's paying for her to be in there for 9 years. And there was no prospect of her leaving there ever. Like you're saying, Mark, you want to ask the doctors, well, if what you studied for 10 years and you're so smart, let's set a date and let's see how much they've improved based on your care for them.
I've
And
always
if they
said this,
haven't,
Hal.
let's try
Yeah.
my care.
Sorry for interrupting you, Al. I've always said this. I've said, listen, I have nothing against medication, but surely there must be a cut-off point. There must be.
Yeah.
And if there isn't, there's something seriously wrong with the system.
Right.
Like if you're saying to me at the beginning, okay, we're going to be on medication for a couple of weeks, I have no issues with that whatsoever, as long
Right.
as we resolve the main issue. Now, I'm not saying, and I'm sure none of us are saying that food is going to fix everything.
No.
But what I'll say is this: it's a damn good start.
Right. I'm all for what works. I just had someone go to the hospital with a bad lung infection. They gave him antibiotics. It cleared up. Fantastic. Thank you for doing that. Really appreciate you doing that. But like you said, the cutoff point shouldn't be death.
Yeah.
It should be, hey, this isn't working. Let's give it the time it's supposed to take to do it. If it doesn't work, let's try something else. Right. Because I get a lot of people calling me too that want to sell me this supplement or that therapy, and I've tried. I used to go down that road a lot. Like, okay, is it going to hurt the person? Well, no, there's not. It's all natural, all this kind of stuff. Okay, well, we'll try it. And a lot of those didn't do anything. And so I just, after a while, said, well, we're not doing that anymore. So, we do a lot of blood work with our residents, and we look at deficiencies in vitamins and minerals and hormones and, cholesterol panels and lipid panels and glucose and inflammation kind of stuff. And I'm all for let's fix imbalances, but there's it's not just doctors and the pharmaceutical companies. There's a lot of supplements out there that are complete garbage too.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, but the carnivore diet's not garbage.
It can't be, because at the end of the day, there's millions of people out there that are doing it. And
Right.
like the stories that we've heard, myself and Victoria have been doing this now a while, and the stories that we've listened to, it's insane. And this just it just blows my mind every time I hear these stories. And I'm like, why aren't the rest of the world not hearing this? And every time we put a video up, we're always frustrated because the amount of views it gets, it's little. It's only like, say, we'll only get about 100 views on these videos. But if I put a video up, say, of the sugar diet or something like that, it would go viral.
We've had some viral videos, but the big ones will draw that. But yeah, it just seems low.
But I'm just saying, like this kind of podcast in my opinion, more people need to hear about this. I mean, how
Yeah.
people are not aware of this, that you can actually take matters into your own hands. You can look after
Right.
your own body. Your body's meant to heal. Your
Yeah.
body can heal itself. I mean,
Yes, that's the
when you cut
biggest lesson
yourself,
I've seen.
yeah, when you cut yourself, what happens?
You put a band-aid over it to protect it
And
while it
it heals
heals.
itself, yeah. So
Wow.
like this is what like I just don't get it. I don't understand why we keep on medicating these people, and then we're still feeding them like junk food. It's
Oh yeah.
just it's
I
criminal.
there's
Criminal.
a lot of times I send someone to the hospital because they fell or something like that, and they come back worse than I sent them. I'm like, wait a minute,
Unfortunately, yeah.
what's the point of this? Or I go visit them in the hospital and they've got a Pepsi by them, and I'm like,
Oh dear.
what are you doing? And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
well, they just brought it to me, so I thought I'd have it.
Oh, it's so
Oh,
terrible.
yes.
Nutrition in hospitals is just awful. I wanted to see if Nancy had a question for you.
Hal, I have a special interest in how diet affects cognitive function and mental illness in general. And I've seen how the ketogenic diet, whether it's carnivore style or other, has made a huge difference, especially with serious mental illness. And I'm just wondering if you've ever had any patients that had a serious like depression, or I kind of doubt you would have maybe schizophrenic patients because that might be unstable. But I'm just curious to know if you have had any patients like that you've seen a big change once they've had your diet in your care home.
Yeah, I've had a couple people like that. We don't really deal with the schizophrenic one because we're not, there's different classifications of care home, and they go more to the behavioral health homes. But I have had people with depression. I think the biggest change I see is that we're able to taper them off the depression medications. Um, those don't come off quickly. You got to do it slowly. But it seems like a lot of the people that come to us are um, they're kind of um, how do I describe it? They're more medicated than they are depressed. Like,
Mm.
they come and they seem depressed and everything, but once we get them on the diet, they seem a lot happier. And so we're starting to wean them off the medications. And in fact, I got one lady who's kind of gone the opposite. Like, she's freaked out not to eat the carnivore diet because she thinks the depression's going to come right back if she does that. I had another lady she was in her early 40s, and was at home. They found her at home and she was completely blacked out and didn't know um, where she was or anything like that. They brought her to a couple hospitals and put her on a bunch of antidepressants and stuff like that. And she, really young, like 42, she had a son and everything. And then I took her to some of the psychiatric visits, and I was just like, this is a joke. Like, they, they just basically sat in front of their computer screen and asked her a lot of weird questions, like, are you having sexual fantasies and things like that? And I'm like, well, that's not making her any better. um, and then, so we put her on the ketogenic diet and everything, and we really cut her sugar out and everything. Well, um, she was able to move out of our place. Um, I had a little dispute with her guardian because she wasn't too thrilled with the ketogenic diet, and so she put her in another place. But she just called me maybe 6 weeks ago and said, I just want you to know I continued eating what you told me. I got the place to agree to it. And I am
Mm.
out of care homes. I'm living on my own, and I'm working at a law firm now. And
Oh, is that
she
wonderful?
said, I'd love to meet you for lunch and thank you. And I'm like, wow, you just made my day.
It's fantastic.
So yeah, and she seemed totally with it, totally together. Um, Loved her job and like living in her own apartment and everything. And I was like,
Mm.
fantastic. So yeah, I'm thoroughly convinced this works really well with
This must give you a
depression.
tremendous joy, Tal. It must do.
Yeah. Oh, it's fun to go over there. I'm gonna head over to the homes after this, but
Mm.
it's great to see. I want to say we don't turn around everyone. I mean, we're all going to die.
Mhm.
And a lot of people come to me when they're in the later stages, some people on hospice and things like that. And we're not going to do much for them. I mean, but we're going to, even if they don't go home, they can improve where they can have a better quality of life. They can, we had a 98-year-old guy actually go on a cruise with his family, and
Wow.
we rented them a caregiver. They paid for her cruise, and she kind of helped him while he was on the cruise. But he came back and he was just absolutely thrilled. Like he was
Mm.
so happy, and he passed away 6 months later, um, in his recliner one morning. Like he just all of a sudden went and died, and I'm like, man, I want to go that way. So at 98, I mean, that's not almost 99. So
Mm.
he led a wonderful life. He ended it well. And so even if you can't get to where you're totally functioning, you can still go out with your family. You can still go home for a holiday, those kind of things. It's not, you're in constant pain and sitting in your bed watching the TV all the time.
Mm. And that's what it comes down to, isn't it? It's just like, okay, you're not going to be able to solve everybody's problems, but you might be able to just ease the pain and make it
Right.
livable.
Exactly. I mean, that's to me what medicine should be doing for everyone, right? We're not, people pass away in hospitals all the time. People have chronic diseases forever. But what are we doing to improve that situation?
Mm.
Even if they're
Mm.
not curing it, we're improving it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to see them in like lying in bed or uh, sitting in a wheelchair for the rest of their lives. Like I can only imagine what that must feel
That
like.
would be awful. I can't
You know what I
imagine.
mean?
Right. I
Watching
mean,
t
yeah,
watching
because I mean,
TV all the time, not interacting with people.
yeah, that's
Like
for
it's just
decades,
mm,
in some cases. It's insane. I mean, I understand. I want people to come to my assisted living the last 3 to 6 months of their lives. We'll take care
mm,
of you, make you
yeah.
comfortable, almost like a hospice. That's
Mm.
sort of my dream. Up until that point, live life on your own, eat well, exercise, and only need us right at the very end. That's how it should be.
The way I see it is, what's wrong with going out on your own terms?
Right. Oh,
You know,
totally.
you
Yeah,
know
I'm
what I
hoping
mean?
you don't come to me at all. I'd love to
Yeah,
shut this industry down,
yeah. I
and,
mean,
and become a
honestly,
health coach like you.
uh, no, but I had this conversation with myself about around 7 years ago. I was actually fearing getting older, really, really, and I was around 38 years of age at the time.
I
No,
know.
it was actually no, actually, no, I was around 45 at the time,
Okay.
and I was really worrying about getting old. Really, really
Mhm.
worried. And I was like, okay, I'm going to end up losing my memory. I'm going to end up in a care home. Who's going to look after me? But
Yeah.
now I've been 5 years into this. I cannot wait to get older.
Well, I think we can
Honestly,
all wait a
can't
little.
wait. No, but
Yeah.
like but I
Yeah.
know I'll be really annoyed if I don't
Yeah.
live for the next 40 years because of what I'm doing now, because I feel amazing.
Well, I
You know
truly
what I mean?
think I truly think dementia and Alzheimer's and a lot of chronic diseases are totally preventable. That, it used to be, hey, my mom's got Alzheimer's, so there's my fate. That's what I'm looking at in old age. It is not that way at all. There's two gene, a gene called APOE4 that supposedly raises your risk of Alzheimer's. If you've got one copy of it, you got like a 30% higher risk. If you have two copies, supposedly it's like 70 or 80, but it's still a risk. The,
Yes.
the people I've talked to who've looked in nursing homes, and they've done some studies of going into a memory care unit and going into assisted living and testing everyone for their genes, only like 25% of the people in the memory care had the gene, right? 75% had neither copy of the gene. So it's not, yes, it may be a risk, but it's not a destiny by any means.
Mm,
And everyone who comes to me with dementia and Alzheimer's, I can almost guarantee they're all addicted to sugar.
mm,
They all have really bad teeth. Dental health is a big predictor of Alzheimer's disease. They may have hearing loss problems or vision problems. I think that probably, being able to see and hear keeps exercising your brain and things like that. And they all, very few of them exercised or, challenged their brain at all. And if you do those things, and get sleep. I don't know what their sleep patterns were before they came to me. Sometimes, families tell me, they've hardly ever sleep because they have dementia and get up and wander around. But, leading up to dementia, I don't know. But I would imagine sleep's very important too. You do all that stuff, your chances of getting dementia or Alzheimer's are slim to none.
And see what the problem is, Hal, because I'm seeing this a lot with a lot of elderly people in my local gym. The type of training that they're doing is wrong. They're on a treadmill, they're running, they're absolutely convinced that this is the only way to improve your health.
Yeah.
But you can clearly see that they're getting very, very skinny, extremely skinny, and they're losing all this muscle mass.
Yeah. And muscle is the best tissue in your body to absorb glucose. So I bought X3s for my homes. We use those. We use weights, things like that. We do some cardio. I have a device called an exercise with oxygen therapy, which they wear an oxygen mask while they ride a bike. And it simulates high altitude oxygen so that so when you're having trouble breathing as much oxygen, your body starts compensating, your heart beats faster, your blood vessels dilate. It prioritizes certain organs such as your brain to get oxygen to. And when they get down to a certain level, we measure it on their pulse oximeter. We flip it over to like 85% oxygen, really enriched oxygen. Now the body's working with oxygen really efficiently, and it drives that oxygen to your brain. It drives it to cells that don't normally get it when you're breathing normally, and we see a lot of improvement in health. So we do some cardio too. But yes, I push weights and resistance training like crazy on my residents because their muscle is huge, and you naturally lose muscle as you get older. If you just sit around, it ain't staying with you. And the older you are, the faster it goes. So I tell 80-year-olds should work out harder than 30-year-olds, for the situation there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one thing
I have a question for you, Hal. Sorry, Mark.
No, go ahead, Victoria.
Hal, have you applied ketogenic principles to your own life? And if so, what results have you seen?
Well, yeah, like I said, when I first found out about the carnivore diet and tried it, I resolved my back pain, which I'd had for probably maybe 40 years or so, 35 years. I had some gut issues, and I had a bad gut issue for about 2 years where I couldn't have a solid bowel movement. It was diarrhea all the time. And I went to lots of doctors, had MRIs, ultrasounds, all kinds of tests. And the best they gave me was, you should take a probiotic. And that didn't do anything. And then I found a functional medicine guy who kind of planted the seed and said, eat foods that don't have any carbs. He gave me some really powerful probiotic, but I don't think that necessarily did it. But in 2 weeks, it was totally resolved.
Wow.
So I'm thoroughly convinced of it. I've got friends on it that say they feel amazing doing it. And I actually had a family, a husband and wife, reach out to me from Tennessee. And the husband, the wife was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's at age 58. They said they listened to my podcast and did what I'm doing in my assisted living homes in their home. They bought a sauna. They went on carnivore diet. They've done a whole bunch of fasting. He just texted me about 5 days ago and said they went to the Nutcracker Ballet, and his wife remembered the whole ballet. And he said, when she was diagnosed, she couldn't even fold a kitchen towel. She was struggling, and he's like, I just want to call you and thank you. I'm like, man, this is like, you made my year. How
That's
cool.
great.
And
Wonderful.
he weighed 470 pounds, and he's lost 180 pounds on it as well.
my
He says,
goodness.
we feel amazing. We're not ever going back. This is the greatest blessing we've ever had in our lives. And I've got my wife back, and I think it's so cool that, the word is spreading and that people can do this in their home. They don't need my assisted living home. They don't need a hospital or a fancy medical doctor with a fancy degree. Hire someone like Coach Mark there or something. But, if you really are dedicated, you can just do it yourself. I'm not trying to make a ton of money off this. I'm trying to get people healthy.
Wow, you're doing
Can I-
wonderful.
Can I ask you,
Can I just jump? Can I just jump in real quick, Nancy? Sorry for interrupting you. Val or Hal, I have to go now really, really shortly, but I can't go without saying this. You are amazing. Honestly,
Not,
you really, really are. You're absolutely amazing. I cannot leave without saying this to you.
well, thank you.
Your story is absolutely remarkable. Honestly, keep up the good work. What you're doing for people, honestly, it makes me really, really emotional. It's just absolutely incredible.
Well, thank you for spreading the word, because the word needs to be spread. And I see tons of articles of red meat's bad for you. You got to eat nothing but vegetables. You got, even they're starting to talk about, weightlifting is bad. And I'm like,
it's crazy.
it's insane. So
Yeah.
we need to counteract it. And I really appreciate what you guys do. Thank you for inviting me on this, because I want to do everything I can to spread the word on how great you can.
No, I have to go, Hal, but the ladies are going to stay with you. But I have to do a podcast shortly. But I couldn't leave without saying what I had to say.
Thank you.
Just keep up the good work. Honestly,
You too.
It's just amazing. Victoria, I'll speak to you very, very soon. And Nancy, it's always a pleasure. And I'll speak to you very, very soon.
okay, bye, Mark.
See you soon.
I was just going to ask you, Hal, you had mentioned like a cot.
Nancy, I think your sound went away.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
My sound did.
I can hear everybody.
It's not muted.
Nope.
I can't.
No, my sound's not. It's still on. My sound's on. Not sure why. Can't hear me still? No, I don't know. My sound is on. What should we do?
Wait, I just heard something.
You hear me? No. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should. Oh,
Can anyone hear me if I speak?
I
yeah.
can hear you now.
You can
Can
hear
you hear
me?
me?
Yes.
I can hear
can't
you.
hear you, but I
Okay.
can see you.
Okay.
I'm going to let Nancy take over as host, please.
Okay.
But you guys can't hear me, right?
Okay.
Can't read it.
It says she can hear
Okay, you can
and me.
hear me?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, well, please just take over because I can't interact.
But nobody can hear me. Right,
Yeah,
Hal?
I can't hear Nancy.
This is
Okay.
very frustrating.
Okay. I can't do anything. Nobody can hear me. Maybe I should leave. I'll leave and come back in. Okay.
I'm sorry, Hal, if you can hear me. I don't know what Nancy's doing, but at this point, I'm unable to continue as a host. So don't know what to say. I don't think you can hear me either. Can you something the roles? Okay, Nancy, you're back in, but I still can't hear anyone. And I saw a note from Hal that says something about the roles.
Can anybody hear me now? No? Can you see the notes I'm writing? Can't see, I'm on mute.
Can you see the notes I'm writing?
Can you hear me?
Nancy, you're on mute. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I can
So
I
much
can hear
fun.
Nancy. I can hear Victoria. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I can
Oh
hear you
dear.
fine, Nancy. You were on mute.
So we've got technical difficulties, and I'm just
Oh,
going to
you can
say,
hear me?
Nancy,
Yes, I
if
can
you
hear
would
you.
close the
Oh,
show.
okay. So Hal can hear me now.
Can you hear me, Victoria?
Yeah. But Victoria, do you hear Hal?
No, I don't think she does.
Okay. I left, I ended, and then I came back in again. And then you were able to hear me.
Should I do that?
Well, no, it's Victoria that maybe needs to do that.
Oh, okay. All right, so you
Let's
can
see.
hear me now too.
I'll just tell her.
Okay. Yeah, it was right when Mark left.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I can hear Victoria. She just can't hear us,
Yeah, we can hear her, but she's not hearing us.
I guess. Can you see the
Okay.
notes I'm writing, the private chat thing?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's right. Where's the chat? I don't know if there is a chat in this one. Let me just check.
All right.
No.
I have one on my screen here.
Oh, okay. I don't see it, but anyways, we may end up, we'll see if Victoria comes back in and we can hear her. But I think it's really fascinating what you're doing. I've been following you for a while and watched pretty much every podcast that you've come on.
Oh, wow, thanks.
It's awesome.
I
We can hear you.
Oh,
Good.
I can hear you now. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a great idea. All right, thank you. So let's proceed. Nancy, you had a question. I didn't hear what you were asking.
Um, I know what it was. It was about the costs, Hal. Is it a lot more costly to run a care home like that, where you are emphasizing whole foods that are a lot of meat based? A lot of people say, "Oh, well, a carnivore diet is too expensive. I could never do it."
I've heard
But
that a lot.
yeah, but what do you think?
So I don't get the highest quality grass fed, straight off the ranch kind of meat that is really expensive. I go to Costco, or the supermarket or that kind of thing. We try to get some, free range eggs and things like that. But what I look at it as a return on investment thing. Yes, is my grocery bill higher than other assisted living homes? Sure. Other assisted living homes, some of them are serving ramen and peanut butter and jelly. I mean, I'm never going to beat that. What I look at is, okay, yes, I'm spending a couple hundred to maybe $1,000 a month more on my homes. My people stay for years, and I very rarely have an open bed. Um, and because I'm doing this, I'm getting a lot of attention from people. Like, people are starting to move from out of state to my homes, and in the assisted living industry, there are these people called referral agents. They're former social workers, case managers, nurses that have a whole network at the hospitals and the rehabs, and they find out, their buddy at the rehab says, "Hey, I have someone who needs to move to assisted living." They go find them. The biggest one is A Place for Mom, if you've heard of that in the United States. And they take people to that. And if they move in, you have to pay these people a commission. which is typically a month's rent in Arizona. So, if someone's paying $5,000 a month to be in assisted living, you have to pay a $5,000 commission.
Wow.
Okay. I don't have to pay that anymore. People are calling me to move in. There's no referral agents. I mean, I'll use one occasionally if someone brings someone who's really interested in what I'm doing. But the first year I was in this business where we were having turnover and I didn't know what I was doing, I paid $60,000 in referral fees.
Wow.
Last year, I think I paid $5,000. So,
Wow.
That's $55,000. You got to buy a lot of groceries to make that as a difference, right?
Yes.
And when people do pass away, when you have a rental property and someone gives a 30-day or 60-day notice to move out, right? You're advertising that rentals, you're showing people while they're still living there. You can't in assisted living go, yeah, you're probably going to die soon. So do you mind if we have people come in and see the room, in anticipation of it? So you have to let the nature take its course, right? Then they pass away. Then you start showing it. So, and then, maybe someone's in another assisted living home and they have to give their 30-day notice there before they come to mine. So you're a month or two with no revenue for that bed, and then maybe have to pay a referral fee on top of that. So that's like 3 months you're losing revenue versus they stay with me for a long time. I mean, I didn't lose anyone to COVID. Okay. And I didn't
Really wonderful.
I had one guy who got COVID and he demanded we send him to the hospital. He was freaking out about it. So we sent him and he died in the hospital. So I can still say no one died in my home of COVID. We had one home during COVID that didn't lose anyone for 2 years during COVID for any reason, which is for assisted living, the average stay is like 6 to 8 months kind of thing. So, not having those open beds and having people calling me a lot that we can put them in as soon as we get them and having no referral fees more than makes up for a couple hundred or $1,000 more in food bills each month.
Wow, wonderful. How many facilities do you have at the moment, and do you plan on expanding?
I'm actually contracting. My wife's like, we're getting closer to retirement. I'm 58. So I'm down to 3. I had 5 at the most. It's hard to set up an assisted living facility. Real estate prices are really high right now. Interest rates are very high. And there's a nationwide caregiver shortage, which was made much worse during COVID. People left the industry and, went to another industry, things like that. And there's always been a caregiver shortage. In fact, I work with an immigration attorney to bring some of the family of some of my caregivers over to get other caregivers because it's so hard to find any locally. So all those challenges, I'm actually looking at maybe starting like an online community that we can help people more in their homes, because I do all that and I can build a place that, has 10 beds, so I can help 10 people at a time. I'm thinking an online community, maybe we can all sort of have a support group of, hey, let's all do a fast together, or my health coach can do a cooking demo on Zoom, or those kind of things that, we're going to have a lot more success getting people in their homes when they first get diagnosed with a chronic condition than we ever are, when they've had it for 15 years and then move into my assisted living. So that to me is more of a growth strategy than just building or buying more assisted living homes.
It sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, it would be great to expand on that. To help, like you said, get the word out, have more people, and before they even come to the care home,
Right.
like you said, in their homes.
My goal is to never need a care home. Because I get calls from all over the country, and I'm like, A, I'm full most of the time, and B, I'm not planning to open up anything in Indiana. My wife would never let me do that. So this is, to me, I can still reach a lot of people without them having to up and move and pay, several $1,000s a month and not be near their family and because a lot of the like Alzheimer's or, Parkinson's support groups, they're all into doing walks to raise money for the pharmaceutical company,
Yeah.
and just, hey, what's the latest treatment that they're doing? I want to be, no, we're going to fight this, and we're all going to do it together, and we're all going to eat well. When you feel like cheating, you're going to call us and you're going to get online and we're going to talk you out of it. And, that kind of thing,
Yeah. Great.
or you're frustrated with your mom. Let's find someone else who's been in that situation and they resolved it somehow, that kind of thing.
Wow. Have you heard of anyone else at least in the United States? I thought I had heard rumor that there was someone in California doing something similar to what you're doing.
So there's
Have you heard?
a wonderful lady named Heather Sanderson. She's a naturopathic doctor, and she opened up a home in the San Diego area, and she's exclusively doing the Bredesen protocol.
Mhm.
She's working with Dr. Bredesen, and I think she just franchised it out to a facility in Kansas too. I actually went to her opening for her home in San Diego, my Dr. Bredesen and everything. Unfortunately, she opened it in February of 2020, which was like the
Oh
worst
dear.
date you could
Oh
ever
dear.
open a business. But she survived through it. It sounds like she's doing very well. She's had a bunch of success with it. They're much more
Mhm.
into the plant-based thing with Dr. Bredesen than I am,
Mhm.
but that's fine. I'm, like I said, whatever works. If they're having success with it, good on
Mhm.
them. I'm
Wow.
happy for them. But
Yes.
yes, she is doing it, and I refer people to her when I don't have openings, or they want to follow the Bredesen approach. I couldn't make the Bredesen approach work in my home, so I don't
Mhm.
do that. I follow a lot of the similar stuff that they do, but they told me don't advertise you do our thing, and I told them I won't. So make that very clear.
Yeah, it is
Wow.
interesting about the Bredesen protocol, because I've followed that for a little while too, just, interested in the research. And he is quite largely plant-based proteins, but lean proteins, and he doesn't like saturated fats.
Right.
Yet there's so many success stories with people eating that way on a carnivore diet with a lot of saturated fats, without any plants at all, and they're thriving and doing
Right.
well cognitively and physically. So I find it interesting, because he's a researcher, so why he wouldn't kind of look at that, you know?
Well, and if you read his books, he said the big reason for the saturated fat and the almost no carb approach of the carnivore diet is that your body, your liver starts making carbs in the complete absence of carbs, like the processed gluconeogenesis. And he's saying we don't
Mhm.
want to have carbs. So, but my answer to that is, well, first of all, vegetables have carbs. Like
Yeah.
you're getting some carbs. And secondly, your body doesn't like flood you with carbs. You don't get diabetes
Mhm.
through
Yes.
gluconeogenesis. It
Yeah.
makes an extremely small amount that's just
Mhm.
enough to facilitate certain processes in your body. It's not it's not an overabundance of it. I thought that's really weird that he thinks that's the main reason that this is a big problem. And
Yeah, that's
it blows me
strange.
away, because you look at like Dr. Mary Newport, who
Yes,
fed
I
her
remember her.
husband MCT oil like 5 times a day. That's total saturated fat.
Yeah.
And he improved tremendously. Like, where's
Yes.
the problem here? And saturated fat doesn't spike your blood sugar at all, which is another contributing factor to dementia, right? Like, I can't find a bad reason to take
Yeah,
saturated
that's
fat.
just some
Oh,
cognitive dissonance there. I don't.
I don't
It's
understand. I'd
beyond.
love to have a
Yeah.
conversation with him and understand
Mhm.
his reasoning. But when I read his book, I specifically was looking for that reason, and then that gluconeogenesis reason just seemed wrong.
yeah.
Wow.
And especially for like the saturated fat, is especially for if you have that gene, ApoE4, those are the people who, theoretically are at higher risk of getting Alzheimer's, but that's only if you have a very poor diet, I would think, and poor lifestyle. But
Right.
it's especially those people, there's not supposed to have those saturated fats. But I mean, humans evolved on having good fats and those kinds of fats in their diets. How do we ever get here, besides the proteins and so on, if we didn't?
I don't know if you see someone on X or Twitter or whatever named Mimi Morgan. Look her up. She's done a podcast, I think, with Sean Baker too.
Yes.
She totally reversed her Parkinson's disease on a carnivore diet. And if you ask her what she ate, her diet was 75% fat.
Yes.
And then the rest was pretty much protein, you know, and I think she cut out, but it was totally carnivore and extremely fatty meat and oils and things like that.
Yeah.
And she is like living her best life, working out every day, completely resolved all of her health issues. So it's just, you know, show me the person who has dementia that's eating a lot of saturated fat. And like I tell people, I get calls from people who said, do you accommodate a vegetarian diet? My mom's been a vegan for 20 years, you know, but she has dementia and she has all these other problems. I'm like, well, she has all this other problems. Maybe you might want to change your diet.
Yeah.
I never received a call from someone who said my mom is on a carnivore diet or has been for 10, 15 years and needs your place. So to me, that's kind of, it's a small sample, but it's a big testimonial that if saturated fat's so bad, why aren't tons of people calling me saying, get her off the saturated fat?
Yeah. Exactly.
And just on that note about fat, I was just wondering, do you ever get any pushback from physicians of your patients who say, hey, my patient's cholesterol has gone way up since your diet? Because we hear that all the time, right? People that go on a carnivore diet or meat-based diet and that their cholesterol numbers change. Their LDL goes up. And so all of a sudden the doctor is scrutinizing you and saying you need a statin. Do you ever get that?
I get it more in the context of me telling the doctor, let's take him off the statin, because they usually show up to my place on a statin. You know, it's very rare I have someone come to my home that's not on a statin. Although lately I'm getting a few. I've got a lady moving in Tuesday that isn't on any medications, which is wonderful. But,
wow, that's unusual.
Very unusual, but I think the family's really into this, so they're trying to turn her around and they want my help doing it. But almost exclusively, everyone who moves into my place is on a statin. So I go to that's one of the first things I say to the doctor, can we take him off this? And, you know, I have a tough time because I'm not going to bring their cholesterol down. But I've shown the doctor enough, and I go on the internet and find the studies that say high LDL leads to a longer lifespan.
Yes.
And I say, you know, we look at the triglyceride to HDL ratio, and I show them, hey, there's a lot of research that says that's the indicator of heart disease rather than high LDL. And so they're more open to it. As long as the family backs me up, usually I can get them off the statin.
I hope they come around. Are you familiar with Dr. Adam Nally in Surprise?
I've had some discussions with him, but he's like really busy all the time. I've gone to his place and I've sat through he gives a sort of free lecture and education on this, and I love what he's doing, but I've never been able to connect in a meaningful way. I've like, hey, I'd love for you to be the doctor of my assisted living homes. And he's just like, I got tons of people in my practice. I can't do that.
Yeah, he's recently become my physician and my husband's physician because we are seventh-year carnivores, and we're just thrilled. But he's very busy and very dedicated to his patients. But I think that the fact that he's in Surprise, and you have a facility in Surprise as well.
I have two in Surprise. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. No, I thought this is a match made in heaven here, but he's just like, sorry, I can't help you.
Oh, too bad. Yeah.
There's another doctor, Brian Lenski.
Oh, really?
Who's very much into this. And
where is he located?
We have a group called Low Carb Arizona that I'd love to get you into.
Okay.
We have like meetings once a month on Zoom.
Excellent.
And Brian's up in Prescott. He's got two practices, one in Prescott and one in San Diego. So he's licensed in California and Arizona. And he's very much into this and had all kinds of success stories.
He's with
So
Dr.
I
Tro.
call him for doctor questions when I need something that I'm getting frustrated with other doctors on.
Isn't he with Dr. Tro Kalayan
Yes.
on the Low Carb MD podcast?
Yes, that's him.
Yeah. He's
Yes.
awesome.
So he just opened up a practice about a year or two ago in Prescott. So he could work. He's worked with a couple of my residents, and he's very gracious with his time because I call him when something's frustrating me that I can't figure out.
Yeah, no, they're both of them are great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fact, Dr. Tro is, we're starting to figure out a way to work together too. So,
Good.
he can't give specific medical advice to my residents because he's licensed in New York, but I think he's got sort of a network of people licensed all over the country that we're trying to work out something as well. He's phenomenal. I love him.
Wow. If we had people who had questions for you, Hal, how would they best get in touch with you? How would you prefer people connected with you?
I would just say go to our website. We have a form, fill it out. It text me when you fill it out, and I usually am the one who calls you. And I'm on X or Twitter a lot. I have Facebook. I have a Facebook group called Brainstorming Alzheimer's where I post what I've been researching and looking for, and
didn't know
have
about that.
discussions with people. So free to join. So I would say those are the best ways. The website has my phone number, contact information, stuff like that too.
And that's a paradiseforparents.com.
Yes. The A, make sure you put an A before it.
The A in the front, yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Well, it's been wonderful talking to you. We appreciate your work so
Thank you.
tremendously.
Yes.
And thank you for what you do.
Absolutely. And thank you for spreading the word because
Thanks so much.
people are catching on, and it's great to see.
Yes. We
It
hope
appears-
so.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. You guys have a great day.
Yeah.
Thank
You
you,
too.
Hal. Thank you, Nancy.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye now. Okay.